Folks are joining in. Welcome to another Tuesday Live with Chaley here at Ridge Lending Group. For those that are joining, thank you very much. We meet every week on Tuesdays starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, and we go over various topics, Q&A, and make announcements like today's big announcement. I'll let Chaley get right to it. Chaley, you're up.
Thank you, Larry. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be sharing with you all. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to close my video. Hold on, gang. Okay, we're sharing. Larry, tell me if I'm having any technical difficulties.
You are looking great.
Okay, very, very excited for today's event with you all. Thank you again for being here. Welcome. If you've been joining us the last couple of weeks, you know that we've been kind of dropping that carrot, dangling the carrot and giving you kind of a teaser on this campaign that we have coming. So the waiting is over. Especially excited to be here and announce this very simple yet extremely powerful campaign. Today's reveal will show you the way to leverage Ridge Lending Group's experience, support systems, education, industry influence, all to your highest advantage. I don't know if we have enough people here with us today to go through. I usually want to just take a second and go through Ridge's background. Maybe I'll just do it very, very quickly. Most of you are already familiar with this, but and those of you that are, you know what we represent. But for anybody that does not know, here's a quick synopsis. Ridge Lending Group is a multi-generational company that was originally built on the needs of the residential real estate investor. Uh-oh, okay, I'm unmuted now. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how much of that y'all heard or not. I think I was inadvertently muted for a second. Anyway, my apologies. I was just saying that for many of you, you're probably already aware of our background. For anybody that isn't, just very quickly, here's a synopsis. Ridge Lending is a multi-generational company. We were originally built on the needs of the residential real estate investor, while over the years, we've expanded to include all things mortgage lending, primary residence, second home, VA, FHA, commercial funding, but we still have a very large focus on the individual real estate investor. And that focus has and always will be centered around education. For my entire career, I'm always heard broadcasting the same message about real estate, and that is the importance of having access to look under the hood into the specific underwriting guidelines as they apply to you and your qualifications and your goals, and arming you with the information and the knowledge and how to optimize those qualifications. Those things like your debt to income ratio and your credit and your assets. Of course, they evolve and change as you grow. And you know, reminder, loan programs, underwriting guidelines and the like are ever fluid and a moving, changing target that you just can't Google search, right? So because it's one of the primary focus points, we'll always have the most up-to-date knowledge on all things real estate investing. All right, let's get to it, gang. Let's go. Let's see how technologically advanced I am. Here we go. So this is the agenda for today's event. We are going to go over the problems we see day to day, day in and day out, talking to clients of all shapes and sizes. We're going to talk about what strategies we've used historically, some that work, some that don't. What are the new ways of reaching your why? Because regardless of the why, those are the only reasons that we're joined here together today, right? We're going to talk about what we have to do to get there, right? Doing the work. It's going to require input, active participation. We're going to talk about what Ridge brings to the table for your success. And then finally, I'll give you a quick outline about our team, Ridge Lending, who we are and who you'll be interacting with and when. Okay, next. All right, so I like this slide. If you guys noticed, you'll probably continue to notice there is nautical kind of background in these slides, and that's on purpose. The navigation of real estate investing is not a clear straight line. There's lots of ebbs and flows. What I want to share with you as we get into this is that time and time again, when I'm talking to new and even seasoned investors, that feeling of being lost or confused and overwhelmed, intimidated by the thought of actual action, the first steps out of the gates and getting into real estate investing, you know, all that the people I talk to are really sure about is that they want to invest, and real estate is where they want their hard-earned money to go. But with so much on the line, right, let's acknowledge that leveraging of an investment property and securing $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 mortgages is no small thing. The fear of making a wrong move is real. So let me say it this way. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of success. Whatever your particular penchant of fear is, one thing is for certain, the fear can be debilitating. I'm going to get a little rah-rah here, okay? So everybody bear with me. I've heard it said that the human animal is motivated ultimately by one of two things, by love or by fear. Now, whether or not you subscribe to any of that isn't my point. What I mean to highlight is that fear, good and bad, can keep even the most self-assured of us from taking action. I personally try not to resist fear. In fact, I try to embrace it. And while with any fear of action, I don't always get it right the first or even the second time, taking action has always served me well, and what has largely guided my path through my entire life. That action is smart, measured, informed action, which goes without saying, being aware along the way of what worked and what didn't, what I could have improved upon. That's how I try to live my life. The alternative, as I see it, is what? Inaction, no progress, no gain, add in regret, no learning lessons, no forward momentum. I am going to choose to take action. So here are the common and repeating problems that we find on the day-to-day and working with our investor clients. Okay, you can see by these quick bullet points, some of you this may resonate with. It's all too common discussion, actually, and ultimately I think it's a vicious cycle that just repeats itself. And I would tell you that even for those of you listening that do have your plan mapped out, I would say chances are very good that at least A, there are things you didn't think to consider, and or B, no one has spent the time playing devil's advocate with you yet, opening up to potentially more streamlined ways to approach any particular task. For the rest of us, the majority, I would say, the above line items are speaking to you right now. No formal plan, no defined support team, and even if you did know what resources were important to have, it's highly unlikely you'd have access to all of them in one place. My guess is that most of you would agree with that. All right, so here's what we've seen as solutions of the past. For decades, people looking to maximize their return or their ROI using OPM, right? What's OPM? Other people's money or leverage. They've marched down to their local area bank or credit union to apply for a mortgage. This is what we call transactional lending. And while in many cases, I'm sure that acquisition or refinance ended in a successful closing, it's far from a recipe for creating long-term, repeatable, sustainable financial freedom and generational wealth. A few talking points on this slide. The first four we see quite a bit. In my humble opinion, the first here, we've got one-time hires to get immediate results, right? I think this tactic is short-sighted and will ultimately lead to delay in reaching the goal line, or maybe worse, the uninformed wrong step might prevent you from accessing the funds that you need to move forward. What do I mean by this? Specifically, here's a good example. You may go to one of the big boy banks or whatever your depository institution that your checks and income and things get deposited into for a quick turn and burn transaction. And even with a hardworking, I'll bet uninformed loan officer, he may suggest or maybe you request a 15-year mortgage because you haven't really looked at the math or seen the chessboard and how doing this can greatly impact your future ability to qualify. I won't go into the details of why a 15-year mortgage is a bad idea for an investor, but that's a good example that I see quite often. My point is, the result of working with a lender that doesn't have deep background and knowledge about investment transaction guidelines and that isn't forward thinking will sooner or later come at a cost to you. Next up, we've got you're the leader. Gang, obviously, this is your money. This is your investment. In most ways, you are and should be captaining the ship. Your support team is there to educate and support, certainly there to give you feedback, perspective, even advice when asked. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. You are the author of your story. Don't let somebody else write it for you. You're going to take all the information available to you and then make the informed decision best for you. All of that said, the bullet number 3, let's talk about that. When it comes to the actual day-to-day or real-time pulse of lending, the industry products, guidelines, conventional, whatever rates, you should not be the one educating your lender on what loan terms or guidelines you're seeking. I see the same stories all the time. I had to tell my lender that they need to add back depreciation on my tax return, or I had to confirm that they were giving me the allowable credit for rental income. Or maybe worse, your lender that doesn't have investor experience, they may impose an industry overlay. This is added layers of risk that wouldn't otherwise exist at the baseline level of guidelines for, say, a lender that does specialize in working with investors. And then finally here in these first 4 bullets, inventory. This is a big one. And I think that one of the biggest parts of what this campaign we are announcing today is going to provide. But let's just kind of talk through that. If you've got a full-time job and you're trying to create wealth through real estate, whether you're doing it to fully replace your ordinary income or simply supplement your current income, how much time do you really have to research and vet and identify the market and the turnkey in that market that you want to work with, especially now when inventory is so low? Maybe you have somebody that you like that you've already done some research on, but they're just out of inventory, right? It's a real problem. And then feeling confident that whomever you have vetted for yourself is the right fit until you get in there and do it. Having a real-time relationship or referral, we think is a pretty cool thing. The rest of the bullets, I think they speak to themselves, and chances are many of you have firsthand experience with one or all of them. Ridge wants to open the shutters and let the light in. We really want to get away from those last 4. Get a pre-approval that you haven't found yet. Hopefully the team that you have selected understands what it is that you're trying to accomplish and has any kind of experience to help guide you. Being responsible to track the entire transaction and the one following up to make sure that balls aren't dropped. And then finally, especially right now, that mad dash, once you do find a possible investment property, everything has been ready. And then finally the property is available and it's dire to get your bid in to see if you've won the offer. Okay, let's talk about the better way. There is a better way. And let me ask you guys some questions. So what if you had a personal relationship with a lender that could not only lead you through successful loan closings, but educate you and arm you with the power of an underwriter's knowledge, teach you how to take that knowledge to optimize your qualifications so that as long as you had the need to secure financing, you could simply pick up the phone or maybe shoot an email and say, hey, Ridge, I need to close on this property in 30 days and have it be so. And what if this relationship was able to help you define your current and mid and long-term goals and then guide you with clear instructional language how to achieve those goals? And what if this same relationship could provide you all the connections and resources to inventory all across the country? What if? That's what a relationship with Ridge Lending is going to do for an exclusive designation of clients. Introducing, drum roll, please. Anybody have a snare drum? Ta-da! Certified Power Buyer and Certified Power Buyers Association is here Gang, this is born from years of trial and error that works, what doesn't work. It's taken a long time to come up with these formulas. I'm very excited to be delivering this news today. CPB is going to be life-changing for many. We are certain of it. Let's dig into what this actually means. Okay, doing the walk. I want to start, I think expectations are huge. So I want to start with a few expectations. In fact, I believe that expectations are at the forefront of any business transaction, and even in day-to-day life. Without them, I find that there will always be disappointment and or confusion. And as with any real estate investment, it isn't and shouldn't be what some I've heard call over the years armchair investing. You will be playing the most active role. This is, again, your journey, your money, your time, your future. You'll be the main character in the story, and Ridge Lending will be the coach, sometimes offense, sometimes defense, at the 30-yard line or the 50, the 20, the 10, into the end zone. We're going to work together to create that roadmap, supply the resources and tools, and help keep things on track, or as needed, we'll take the timeouts to make the necessary pivots. I made Larry throw in the X's and ones in there because if you haven't guessed, maybe I'm a football fan. Any Niners fans out there, rejoice. We can talk offline. Here's the abbreviated game plan. Some of those X's and O's, let's just go over a few of these. Obviously, upon signing up for Certified Power Buyer, we'll go into each of the bullets on this particular slide in much greater detail. So I'm just going to kind of go through them. There's a questionnaire that we're going to have you complete for us, very short and sweet, based on purchase or refinance, whatever it is that you're going to be getting into. There will then be followed by an interview with a dedicated loan specialist. Then the next, most of you, your favorite and your favorite token joke of mine, we've got the evaluation. This is where we're going to collect your vials of blood and your DNA samples. We are then going to go to planning, the plan and strategy, follow-up discussions back with your designated loan specialist to go over your qualifications and discuss the playbook. And then finally, the execution. From the first through the 100th transaction with your RLG team, we hope, will be on standby to ensure that we're always moving toward that goal line. Okay, resources. Let's dig into this a little bit. So that first slide, experienced leadership. When I saw this slide, I actually had to do the mental math real quick. That's a lot of years, but the math actually does check out. Our collaborative experience definitely sets us apart, I think. It's important to be working in and with your resource teams that do have applicable real-time experience in what it is that they're talking about. That isn't always the case, at least that's my experience. And in all phases of real estate, really, your success is personal to us. Your dedicated specialists, from your lending specialist to our docs department, scenario and income review desks, all the software and applications that we use are specifically geared for real estate investment transaction and real estate investors. Our team, experienced team, you know, guys, it takes a village. It couldn't be more true than with the life cycle of a mortgage loan. If I could somehow impart or plug you in like the Matrix to show you in a matter of seconds what really goes on behind the scenes, kind of like a day in the life of a mortgage loan application, I believe each of you would be absolutely astounded at what that looks like. The amount of detail and the variables that go into closing a loan is insane. The point I'm trying to make is that for each leg of this process, we do have highly specialized teams handling all of those fine points and intricacies. It might be interesting for some of you to learn that over 95% of all real estate transactions are for primary residence purposes. Translation, 95% of the support teams out there, whatever, lender, loan officer, agent, appraiser, insurance agent, etc., only work on those looking to secure or refinance a home that they live in. Gang, I cannot stress this enough, how vastly different all parts of the process between an owner occupied where you live and a non-owner occupied that you rent out are. It's night and day, truly. A kind of a good or silly analogy would be the differences between a brain surgeon and a dermatologist. If you want relief from a rash on your arm, you're not going to call a neurosurgeon, right? Silly, but it makes my point. Documented plan. Let's speak to the bullet points here. They kind of speak for themselves. We're going to write out, we're going to review, we're going to update, we're going to tweak, we're going to refine as needed within how you look at things today and tomorrow and next year and in 10 years. We're going to outline the goals and the resources and the timeline it will take to get there. And then the versions will be stored, right? We can go back and reference them as needed to say, okay, well, 2 years ago, this is where we were and why, this is where we are now, where have we come, and what pivot or changes have we made to stay on track with the ultimate goal? Because chances are that will remain at least loosely the same. Knowledge and community. Again, let me speak to the bullets. I think this is kind of a big one. Our private community, those of you that are here with us this afternoon, you have access to this. You'll be the first to know real-time updates about market conditions, product and underwriting changes that can affect largely the way you acquire or sell or refinance properties. The other thing too that's kind of cool is we're going to be starting monthly special guests, experts in the real estate space. So from appraisers to turnkeys, CPAs, all of that is going to be part of what we want to incorporate in the certified power buyer and their experience as a certified power buyer. And then custom resources. So based on your individual needs, right, we are going to be able to put you in touch with the appropriate resources your plan may be lacking, or maybe you need a facelift within your plan. Each of these individuals listed there, we have personal relationships that have been built over years' time. These are not individuals that were just plucked out of a hat somewhere. These are people that and Ridge has been around for a very long time, that we have come to know and respect and trust will be great resources for our clients. Next. Okay, so, I touched on this a slide or two ago, just about how many people are in the real estate or the mortgage transaction. Obviously, our leadership team, I'm going to introduce you guys to them in just a second. But you've got your lending specialist, our documents team, as I mentioned, you've got junior processors, senior processors, underwriters, closers, funders, obviously all the third parties that are listed there. It really does take that village to take from inception, somebody that wants to get into real estate investing all the way to closing. There's a lot of people involved to make that a successful transaction. Ridge Lending's goal is to provide all the necessary tools, again, education, the information, those resources internally and externally. White glove customer service and support is what you'll be looking at within the certified power buyer we're hoping for today, tomorrow, and 20 years from now. Okay, and finally, let me just introduce you to a few people here you see on the screen. Forget that picture in the middle. I want to close by thanking all of you again for joining us today. We're going to open up to a Q&A, but I want to quickly share a little background with you about the rest of our leadership team, with a special point to say that the entire Ridge Lending team is made up of truly knowledgeable, hardworking, service-oriented professionals that really do take pride in knowing that their little individual part may be small, but so important. And it makes the difference in the end result and the client experience, which is focused around exclusively supporting your goals and your success. Let's look at Miss Marta Wycombe. Marta has been with Ridge for about 5 years. She is the director of underwriting and most recently was promoted to director of operations. She's been in the mortgage industry for over 35 years. She started out as a loan processor, actually, was promoted into underwriting pretty quickly. And then she's moved up the ranks even quicker than that into management capacity. She's an authority truly in just about every facet of a mortgage loan transaction. And then Mr. Larry Bailey over there on the right. Look at that, those dogs, how cute. Larry, like Marta, has about he's probably just as many, 35 years in the mortgage industry. He started out as a loan officer. He then transitioned into a broker. And for the last 20 plus years, he's really focused largely on the systems end of a mortgage loan life cycle. His motivation is largely about the borrower experience. He truly takes every transaction personally. His focus is all about finding that perfect workflow through technology and efficiencies. Both of these individuals are a great asset to Ridge Lending Group. We're very, very lucky to have them. And then finally, this is what I want to close with before we open up for any Q&A that you guys may have. It is with the utmost sincerity that I tell you all how excited I am about our Certified Power Buyer program. Very, very much looking forward to connecting with each and every one of you to get into that deep dive of what's been laid out here today and start really implementing the simple and effective formulas that the Certified Power Buyer will create. There was just a quick housekeeping. We're opening this up on a limited basis. What I'll need, anybody that's interested in becoming a certified power buyer with Ridge, I need you to, there's an intake, maybe Larry, you'll fill in the blanks for me. There's an intake on our website, or maybe, no, I'm sorry, it's within the community. This is kind of a soft launch. We really want to work out any of the bugs that may exist in transferring within some of the resources that we have and the turnkeys. So we're going to be selecting just a select few that we're starting with to go through this process with us. But if it is of interest, please be sure to fill out the intake that you do want to be a part of the Certified Power Buyer, and we will be sure to get you in with us as quickly as possible. It shouldn't be any delayed period of time. It should be pretty quick, but yeah, there's that. And Larry, feel free to mention anything that I didn't. I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to get back on camera with you guys. And I noticed that quite a few people kind of logged on or joined us late. This will be obviously recorded, so anybody that wants to go back and listen or review, it'll be there for you in the community. Q&A. That was a lot of detail. Anybody have anything that you want to dig into further?
Hi, Charlie. So for those that just joined late, first of all, if you went back to ridgelendinggroup.com, you will see a big button in the center top of the page, and that will give you a link to sign up if you are interested, if you have not already been sent your invitation to become a certified power buyer. Also, we'll be putting this replay of this announcement, this great announcement, and the PowerPoint presentation, so you can take away some notes and get some more information from there, just in case you missed it in Shaylee's presentation. If you have any questions, please chat feature in the Zoom meeting to post them. Did have one question come through, Shaylee, and it's really just plain and simple. What separates out a power buyer from a pre-approval?
So the difference is going to be the hands-on education, right? Really looking at it from that holistic perspective, and having the certified power buyer designation when it's sent to the different turnkeys that you're going to be looking at. I think it's going to add some credibility to your offering and buying power. But I think most of all is really helping create that plan customized for you. And while we're always on hand to help any of our clients and answer any of those specific questions, the certified power buyer are going to be the ones that get that one-on-one attention that is more specifically designated to your circumstances and your goals and your qualifications.
Great. I would add one thing to just supplement that. What I found, Shaylee, when we were setting this up, was speaking back to your transactional conversation. Right. Typically, what we found were our clients were looking at one particular property or one particular set of properties, and they really never explored how far they could go, whether that was just a little bit past where they were, or maybe even a lot farther than they realized they could qualify for. So this also allows us as Ridge Lending to help clients really understand what their full buying power is into the future. I think the sort of the impetus for this was a client earlier this year, right, Shaylee, where they were asking about, well, how many properties could we buy? And we said, listen, let's put that together into an action plan that quickly matured into properties purchased with a plan for purchasing another set of properties.
Perfectly said, Larry.
So there is a question in here for you, Shaylee, and that is, this is from Blessing. So what is needed to start as rookie investors, and like, what's the first steps? What should we do?
So for right now, you're going to submit your desire, the link or the button, the big button that Larry mentioned on our website. And then you'll be contacted by either myself or one of the designated lending specialists. And what we'll do then, Blessing, is we're going to go back through the last closed, for you in particular, the last closed loan that we had together. And we'll start digging into what your qualifications were at the time. We're in a unique place and time in the year because 2021, most people are going to be looking to file those tax returns. So we'll start forecasting for some of that and putting together that plan, that laid out plan that speaks to what you want to do this year and next year and in 5 years, and really where you want to end up with real estate, at least as it exists in your mind today.
Terrific. And I hope you don't mind me adding also, Shaylee, again, is for those that I haven't had a chance to work with directly, because I'm honestly back in the shadows of technology and workflow and stuff. But the first 20 years of my professional was actually in retail lending directly. And as a retail loan officer, countless times I'd worked with borrowers over the course of years, and it was all transactional. And so that's really what we wanted to do with this, was to really bring it together as a documented plan to work with you consistently and make sure that we're on track with what your needs are. And as your needs change, as Shaylee said, you'll have access in setting up periodic appointments with the team member here at Ridge to make sure if anything changes, as life always does. But most importantly, to make sure that you're correlating to the available inventory. We'll have specific markets that are available and documented. So if you have a particular preference for an area of the country, or if you have a guidance towards wanting to get deeper into longer term rentals or shorter term rentals, these are the kinds of things that are available, such as, and it was in that one bullet, but our turnkey investors are very anxious to meet with you on being certified as a power buyer, because they want to make sure that they're also looking at inventory that they could bring onto the market for you as an investor. So what we're trying to do with this, again, is to close that chicken or the egg circle by making sure that all partners are aware of what your plan is, so that we can support you in your path. There is a question coming in, Shaylee, and it says, this is from William, and William was referred by Rental Income Podcast. Thank you, William. And
Hi, William.
he's got 2 rentals that he wants to leverage, maybe with a HELOC, but they've been on a lease since August and September. So he's concerned about meeting a seasoning requirement just because the leases are so new, perhaps.
So I think, William, what you're asking me is in relation to the income that these properties are producing, will you be able to have some portion of them considered within a debt to income ratio calculation? The answer, if that's the question, is yes. We'll be able to give you, before your 2021 tax return is filed, you may want to hold on doing that and allow us to review. But before that's filed, we'll be able to give you up to 75% of the gross rents that are listed on those leases. There are some restrictions based on any experience that you have with real estate investing and or the type of primary housing expense that you have. It gets a little convoluted, but if you have a mortgage for your primary housing expense, then we can give you up to 75%. If you don't have any experience as a real estate investor, then we can offset if that formula, 75% of the gross rents, produces a gain. As an easy math example, let's say that the gross rents were $1,000 a month and the proposed new mortgage payment from the refinance was $500 a month. We would be able to give you up to 75% of $1,000, so $750. minus $500 of the mortgage payment would leave you with a gain of $250. Now that $250 gain would only be applicable if you possess, one, a mortgage as your primary housing expense, and two, you have history as a real estate investor. If you just have one or the other, we can offset. You just don't get to have the gain. We get to give you the $500 to cover the mortgage payment, but you don't get to have the extra. So if your debt to income ratio was in place before, it should be just fine now. The new mortgage payment should be covered by an offset of the gross rents. If that wasn't the question, William, feel free to articulate it verbally. We can let them do that, right, Larry?
Absolutely.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I was wondering if I can unmute. Yeah, so I had the one rental for a while, but it was like in-laws living there. So I ran into an issue, because it wasn't technically it wasn't reporting on taxes. So
Okay.
when now I have a regular tenant in there since September on a lease. So it's kind of looks new. You know what I mean?
Yeah, how long
And
have you
then
owned the property, William?
I've owned the property since 2014.
Okay, was it rented in any year prior to this new lease?
Just by the in-laws.
Okay, and you didn't claim the income?
No, I did not.
Okay. Maybe. I'm gonna have to check with underwriting to see what kind of circumstances or extenuating circumstances that might allow us to then use the lease. If you've had it that long, I'll have to get back to you. Do we have your contact information, William? I'm assuming probably.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get it, William. I'll send you a note.
Okay.
And then the other property is a condo. It doesn't have a mortgage on that, but that's also being rented out.
And how long have
But
you owned
I
that guy?
do have since August.
Of last year?
Yes.
Okay, then
And
definitely we can use the lease of that rental property to offset any mortgage payment that we would secure on a refinance.
okay, and I do have a personal mortgage residence as well.
Okay,
So that's so I have two more right now, two mortgages and one primary, and then I have two rentals. So since I have two mortgages, that's showing up against my debt to income ratio because they hadn't been allowing me to use the rental income when I tried to, pull money out of it.
okay.
So
So
they mentioned seasoning.
right, okay, two comments that I would have for that. If your debt to income rate, well, the first comment would be, I don't know what loan officer or lender you were working with. They may have imposed some kind of an overlay, extra layer of risk that would preclude using what we may be able to give you for credit and income. The other thing I would tell you is, depending on the scenario specifically, we're not a one size fits all, William. We have a very diverse product line. So if you don't fit into, let's say, the Fannie Freddie box for a loan, we do have alternative means of funding where we would simply look at the property itself to qualify. It's called a debt service coverage ratio. So that might be an alternative. In any case, I think that just kind of a quick conversation back of the napkin might be appropriate to see where we land in all of that. So maybe offline we can connect and figure that out.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, William. Appreciate you jumping on here. And I think the guideline that you're talking about, Chaley, is whether or not you've recently acquired a property in order to use the lease to qualify. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. I know that there are extenuating circumstances as well when they've had the property for a number of years. It was used for family purposes. In his case, I think it was in-laws that were living there. He wasn't claiming the income. There may be circumstances that now that it is, maybe we do file the 2021 tax return to show it's on there, and then we could use the income that way. There's a whole nother subset of discussion on a Schedule E, William. So I think the takeaway here is let's have a follow-up conversation, but also don't file 2021's tax return until we've seen a draft.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you, William.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. No, thank you. So if there's any other questions, please add it in chat. Not seeing any new ones coming in. Just wanted to let everybody know again, for those that got here late, the full replay will be up on the community shortly in a new article. We'll make sure we put the presentation on there as well. And if you are interested in joining this program, because you've not been invited to it as of yet, best thing to do is to go to ridgelendinggroup.com. There's a huge button dead center in the top. Click that. It'll take you to a page that then gives you a little bit more information. And there's a simple sign up, literally first name, last name, email address. And that's all it takes to let us know you're interested. So
You guys are letting me off easy.
Yeah, at this point, no more questions are coming in. I think maybe they're in shock. Maybe they we need to give it a little bit to sink in.
Sure. Well, we're here on standby, everybody. Anything that you need, any questions that you have, we're a phone call or email away. And if the certified power buyer has any appeal, please do go to the website. I haven't seen the button yet, but it sounds like you can't miss it. Click that, register, and one of us will be in touch soon.
Excellent. Thanks everybody for coming. Chaley, thank you as always for doing these Tuesday meetings, and we're looking forward to next week's meeting.
Yay. See you guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.